this is the presentation for you.
All right. Okay, and we'll also be looking, or we'll be sharing from our own experience some strategies and the systems of support we have in place, as well as specific presentations that we make. Or all good? Okay, all right. So these are some of the, I think you moved up one slide.
Did I?
No worries, yeah.
Ready?
So, yes, so I don't want to read every line on the slide as such, but it's a very broad strokes overview of what we're going to cover in the presentation, okay?
Okay, we're going to ask you to be a little bit interactive today, though this is a little bit of a sit and get presentation, as they say. Generally in education these days, we want students to be interactive and up and moving, but we only have 1 hour today. But what I'd like you to do is think for a moment about the needs of your school community. And what kind of learning are you hoping for in this session today? And what kind of questions are on your mind? And I'd like you to turn and talk to the person next to you. Introduce yourself a little bit and talk over those questions. Less than a minute, I'd say. Okay, fantastic. Great to hear so much chatting and sharing. Hopefully we're going to be helping you with some of your needs today. As a show of hands, could we ask a show of hands for anyone who is in their first year or two? First year or two. Fantastic, you're in the right session. Anybody more than two? Well, you should come up here then.
Yeah, 3? 3? How
3
many?
to 5?
3 to 5?
Okay.
More than 5? Oh, we have a couple of ninjas out here. All right.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
Let's move on. We're going to do a quick Menti.
And this is a fantastic takeaway. It's a free tool that's available online. If you have a phone, go to menti.com. And it'll ask you for a passcode. Just enter 5909 or 09, sorry.
Do you want to go over to Menti for the live?
Uh-huh.
Is that it?
Yes. So as counselors, sometimes we'll notice that we are doing multiple things. We might be teachers, we might be college counselors, we might be teachers and college counselors. We could be school administrators who are also college counselors, or we might also be responsible as the social and emotional counselors. Start entering on your Menti what your roles are, or which best defines your role. Three people have all, oh wow, the number's going up. There are more than 23 people here.
26 we're at? Is it showing there?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, the count's over there. All done? Who's checking cat videos and not on the Menti? I can see you all looking on your phones, but the number's not coming up there. Okay. All right. So quite a few people who are also school administrators and college counselors. Internet issues? Yes.
41. Wow, great. Is there anyone who's just
We can give 5 more seconds because we have one more mentee to run.
Right.
All right.
So we want to talk about this.
Yeah. You can talk about
Yeah.
the different goals.
Okay, it looks like we have about 44 responses. Thank you very much. We wanted to get an idea of sort of what your multi-roles might be, what your workload might be. In the case of the American School of Bombay, we are dedicated counselors, and that's our only job. And it's a big job, as you know, but we're always interested to know what other jobs or responsibilities counselors have to balance with the very important job of being a counselor. And it looks like lots of folks have other things happening. I wonder what the other is. Anybody want to tell us another? What's your other role? Some folks put in other. Yeah. You're the special education needs coordinator and college counselor?
Oh.
Wow, that's a big job.
Yeah.
Goodness, they're lucky to have you.
Any other? Yes. Oh, fantastic.
Okay, wow.
So admission and visa facilitator.
Also very
Okay.
busy. Wow.
Yes. Principal of the
Principal
school.
of the
Yes.
school. Right.
Primary years coordinator. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good mix of people. All
Good
right.
mix. And the more administrators we have, the better to help understand and partner with the counselors in their jobs. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to move it on. Oh, yeah. We're going over to this. What? Okay. Go to view. Oh, that's file. Sorry. I got it.
You just need
View,
to go back.
present. Okay, so now our next one. Well, we're still on mentees. We'd love to know what kind of apps you're dealing with every year in your office. So here's another quick mentee. Let us know what are the top 3 countries that your students are applying to.
Because this has an impact on how your work here spreads out. Because depending on the needs of your curriculum, you might have exams at a particular point, or you might have term exams at a particular point. So you might have to work with your administrators, or it could be the IGCSE coordinator or the IB coordinator or your principals sometimes to come up with a timeline that works best for your students, because the students are central to the process. We want them to be engaged and also come up, and as a counseling department, we want to come up with a program that best supports
Annie.
the need of the community.
Can you go to the next
All right.
mentee? Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
Also, I've just come from China, for example, and many years in Asia where we were processing lots and lots of Korean university applications. And if that's not something that's really relevant to you in your practice, that's something we'd love to know.
Uh-huh.
There's our next mentee.
Okay. So the top 3 countries that many of your students apply to: Australia, all right, USA, Canada. Lots of people have entered. Okay, it's growing. Have
Wow.
only 2 people apply.
25.
enter? 25? Okay.
Yep. Very interesting. I love Canada in the middle. That's fantastic.
That's her home country, so she's always rooting for people who are applying to Canada, okay? Okay? All right, okay. So because the timelines or the needs of your population do have a significant impact on
Right.
how you roll out the program for your community,
Ah,
okay?
Poland.
Ooh,
Oh, folks have got some. I just saw
Canada's still very much in the lead,
Yeah,
Julie. You must be
yeah.
happy. Barry,
Sorry.
Australia is a close second.
Oh,
You happy with that?
interesting. Lots of
Okay.
Australian apps.
Uh-huh.
Fantastic.
India, okay?
US, UK,
My home
Canada?
country, and USA. Okay, UK, all right. Fantastic.
And you can see that these mentees are free resources and fantastic to use for
You-
many different groups in your community.
Right, so if you want to engage a large group
Oh,
of
people are
people,
still going?
just sign up on a Mentimeter, and the slides, even the basic free ones, are super easy to use. If I can do it, anybody can, trust me. All right, so try it out, don't be shy, you won't break anything, right? So, yeah, okay? Prezi? All
Presi's
right.
fantastic.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Presi's
fantastic.
fantastic and a free resource, right? Yeah, I
All
love
right.
it. Okay, just a quick note that as we're talking today, we're getting a good idea sort of what your context is, but please keep in mind that context is everything, and we're talking mainly about our background as counselors in an American school. And my entire 24 years has been American international schools, mainly IB schools. So it's important to note that school communities will differ greatly, but we're hoping that we can be a contact for you and help you with any questions or program development that you're interested in pursuing.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that, Julie, because when I moved to the American School of Bombay, I noticed the difference. I had come from a stream, a system, a very an international school which offered the ICSE and the IGCSE in grade 10 and IBDP in grades 11 and 12. So, and we didn't have a lot of students moving in and out. Our points of entry would maybe be grade 9. We'll take in students in grade 9, the early years, of course, right, and grade 11. So these would be the only points of entry that we have, and our schedule is locked, so it goes by day order. Whereas when I first came to the American school, the day order it moves around. And so students, it's on a flex schedule. So,
Day rotation.
and on a day rotation. And students come in all the time because the community that is served by the American school is very transitory. So we have a lot of students who are moving with their families because their parents got posted in Bombay. Or for example, this could be an option that offers it in a language, or the support system in place could be an option that best meets the need of the school, students, sorry. And so, which is why that was a very, so the program, the way it is structured at the American school is very specific to the needs of the community. So if there are things that meet your need and your student community's need, choose those ones. Feel free to tweak it to the needs of your community as such.
Okay, and I don't need to read this slide for you, and I want to engage in death by PowerPoint today, but you can see generally what our responsibilities are. I would point out that academic advising and student scheduling, of course, includes all our range of learners. We have a learning support department with students that may have ed psych reports that need special programs. And on the other end, of course, we have high ability students. And we work with a full range of students to offer them a challenging program that they can manage. And of course, social emotional counseling is extremely important. I don't have to tell anybody here that I think adolescent stress or anxiety levels are kind of epidemic at the moment in every country that I visit. And so looking at the care of those students is also significant in our daily practice. And I'm sure if I asked you to shout out your responsibilities in addition to this, there would be more and more and more. We're just listing sort of our basic outline here. Okay, sorry? Student scheduling means that probably starting in February, March, we're going to start talking with students. I'll use grade 10 as a significant example. In the American system, 9, 10, 11, 12 is high school. And in February, March, we'll sort of have these directed conversations with grade 10 students about their IB program, for example. Over 90% of our students do the full diploma. And my husband, for example, is an IB English teacher. And so he'll be talking with the 10s about what is Lang Lit and what is Lit, and what is the best course for you. And our science teachers are talking with them about the lab sciences. The counselors are talking about, isn't sports science a fabulous course, but the universities and colleges are still seeing that as a soft science. I'm sure you know that. And let's talk about how we could put a lab science into your program and how we could serve your interest in computer science. Some of our students do online learning, online courses, or AP courses outside of our regular classroom offerings. So there's a lot to talk about in helping students to understand what the colleges and universities may be looking for, and balancing what their strengths or interests may be in terms of individualized planning. So, and we make the schedule for the 9s also as they're coming up, or coming into our school in 9, or coming up from middle school. The easiest one is obviously 11 to 12 because we have a 2-year program. The IB moves from 11 to 12. But that doesn't mean that we won't have consular students, for example, that will come into the school in senior year, in the second semester of junior year. So counselors work with those students to be sure they have a schedule that satisfies lots of different criteria in their lives. Great question, thank you. So now we're just going to move into going through a year in the life of our counseling office month by month. You are welcome to stop and ask us questions. We'll have a few websites and some resources for you at the end.
And we will be sharing the PowerPoint, all right?
And we'll share this PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But we'll try and be timely also with our time. So August starts the school year when we must pack up our beautiful summer homes and put the sailboats away and get on that airplane to come back to work. And here we are usually about, what did we start? August, what was the first day of school?
9th. 7, 9.
August 7th at our school was the first day of school.
Yeah.
And at that time, for counselors, of course, new families and new students making the transition not only to our school culture, but a whole new host country and home.
Yeah.
Those are really a large focus for us in that first week. Very, very busy with new families and new students.
And we dive right into the season of college visits as such. So, so we host our visits usually during our lunch break. And we try to work with neighboring schools so that it's easier for the college reps who are traveling. So it's sometimes if you are starting out a program, your fellow counselors are your best allies, right? Reach out to them, and sometimes you'll notice that it's easier to travel from one school to another. And as a local, you might have that knowledge of, hey, going from this direction to that direction at this time of the day won't work. So these are ways in which you can also support the college reps who come, so that you can host a lot more visits. Yeah, productive also. Okay.
We have an open house in the second week of school where parents are invited to come to this school in the evening and move through a condensed version of their child's schedule. So they get their child's schedule, they go to their English class for 10 minutes. It's not a time for individual parent-teacher conferences. It's a time to hear from the chemistry teacher as to what the syllabus and expectations are, and then they move on to their students' next class. So we move them through their student schedule with an opportunity to hear about the content, curriculum, and expectations of each course their student is taking. And those open houses are a great time to meet lots of new students and new families again.
Yeah, and that is very unique to an American school as such, because in most other systems, we don't have we have an open house. It's more lecture based. Whereas in an American school, the open house translates to the parent gets a copy of their child's timetable for that day, and they pretend to be there like that child, and they go attend each class for like a short time, and they meet with the teachers. So
no penalty for being tardy.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay. I think in the first week, Annie met with the seniors, the grade 12 students, to look at the year ahead and give them some pretty pointed and strong reminders about expectations for what they need to be doing with their applications. I met with, and we also met with the grade 11 students.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We've discovered through conversations, of course, over the years that our juniors have a lot of stress already coming into the junior year. And one thing that was very much on the mind of this group was their predicted grades for the IB program, which they don't see until May. But there's a lot of pressure from each other, and there's a lot of talk from the upperclassmen and parents. And so we had a really good talk about that and what they should be doing in the course of that junior year, and to clarify the use of the predicted grades with colleges and universities.
Yeah, and it's not just the counselors that are having this conversation and supporting students. So we encourage also teachers to be supportive and caring adults in having these conversations with students about their anxiety, and they are always welcome to let us know if they think a student needs a little bit more attention.
And with the grade 9 students, we talk with them about expectations for high school and the reality of the high school transcript. Without adding too much stress, we do want to let them know that they are creating a public document which will be sent to their colleges and universities, and it's a little bit different from middle school that way. And we start practicing some meditation with the students at the beginning of the sessions, and an advisory time with them and talking about self-care. And then we also work with the grade 10s and talk about that year ahead.
Yeah.
More August. August is a big month.
Uh-huh. And one thing that you might be working with your students, for example, in grade 9, depending on the stream, there might be differences. So if your children come from an Indian stream, they might think we just need to do well in grade 10 or the grade 12 exam. So it's a mindset shift. So you'll have to make them understand that if they are applying to countries which look for all 4 years and their performance, then they have to make sure they're showing steady progress as learners, right? So which is why we have these conversations early on.
So I think really catching up with the seniors at that time of year as they come in is incredibly important to make sure they're on track. We always say we don't want anybody homeless, and we want folks to have a balanced list, and I'm sure you work with that as well. We also have a new program this year called the Junior Wellness Seminar. In a flex period, which is in response to students wanting more support with mental health and wellness and sexuality education. And so I've been going into those flex periods and meeting with smaller groups of grade 11 students, entirely oriented to social emotional care.
And ASP also partners with the Mount Holyoke College, and we run a women's leadership workshop for students from across the country. So if any of you are interested, I'm just going to plug that in because it's close to my heart. So if you're interested in that, we just finished that last week, but for next year, if you're interested, send us your cards. We'll keep you on the mailing list and make sure your students come and participate in it. It's a fantastic option.
So August is tiring. I'm looking forward to the weekend. September is coming this weekend, right? So August is very busy, as you know, in counseling offices. So moving on to September, I'll let you take a look there. You can see the work we're doing with the seniors of the grade 12 students.
So with grade 12s, we start working a lot more intensively, one-on-one or in smaller groups on their applications, depending on the needs of the country, right? So we might do, for example, getting kids signed up on Common App or UCAS, and if they need feedback for the essays, we also support them on that. So, we encourage them to drop by at our office and come meet us, right?
And as we move into September, we find that some of our students who may be different learners, have different learning profiles, EAL or learning support, high ability, may need adjustments to their programs and schedules. So we really have some ongoing conversations there.
Yeah.
Faculty workshops, I'm sure you all know how significant the recommendation letters can be from faculty members for your students. And so we have sessions with them, give them sample letters, talk about those letters, take them apart, and really look at how can you write a letter as a well-intentioned advisor, teacher of a student that's going to kind of lift them off the page when that application is read. And I think that's a really important workshop to have for your faculty early on.
Yeah, and we also get them logged into My Learning, run sessions because of the transition from Naviance. So figure out ways in which you can support your community and all your different stakeholders.
And there's the rest of September. Parent-teacher conferences go over 2 days where parents are invited to come and have meetings specific to their student and their student's progress and performance. Very different from open house, which is where parents learn about the curriculum and content of courses. Parent-teacher conferences are for meeting with each one of the parents, each one of the teachers about your students' progress there.
Yeah. End of September for us, we also, because notice that we've also set the first predicted grades close to when we have the parent-teacher conference, right? Because our first early application deadline for any country, if your student is applying regardless of where they are from, we have just 2 deadlines. One, if you're applying early, whichever country it be, if it is the US or UK, we set it as October 5, right? And then everybody finishes the rest of their applications by December 6, which is my birthday and Barry's birthday. Hi, Nitika. So we used to work together at Ambani, and so we decided after our birthdays, we are not working, right? So, and it solves a lot of issues because earlier, we'd have students who would keep working on their applications over winter break because they'll say, but my college needs it only December 31st or Jan 15th. So let me use my December break and give you like a fantastic essay that gets me into Harvard. And we'd be like, no, you get it done. We'll tell you starting January of year 11, grade 11, they all know what the deadlines are. So it's very clearly communicated. So no surprises. We don't spring it on them. So which is why we keep the predicted grades closer to when we have the parent-teacher conferences. So if the family has any concern, it is addressed all at one shot, and we move on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Moving on to October, you can see Annie's talking about the internal deadline of October 5th for all early applications, meaning all country systems. As you know, we have Oxford and all those folks October 15, US early apps November 1, continuing, what about those UCALs? They're all coming up, right? So it's better to pin a good deadline on there. College visits continue.
Yep, and the merit of having one early deadline that is an internal one within your school is that way you don't have to independently track which student has an early app to which country. If they're on your early application list, you get all the documents ready. Students have to have a completed work, an application almost ready to submit, right? So we check it on October 5th, and it's done, right? So if they want to fine-tune it, that's okay, but no more changes. We lock the list of colleges, and they can't change the list, right? So it gives us also time in case we need to work with our teachers. If they need extra help or feedback on their essays, it gives us time well ahead of the external deadline to make sure the student is well supported, right? So, and we need our sanity, in place, right? So if you let them decide the deadlines, then it's harder. But for this, you need the support of your administration. And for some of you who are administrators, please make sure you support your counselors on this, right? Back them up, make sure you enforce the deadline. Yes?
I'll just add a little social emotional plug. We continue to get into the grade 9 and 10 advisories with organization and planning skills, more meditation, relationship skills, social relationships, lots of things to talk about there. Yeah. And I'm really happy that ASB has a meditation room, a wellness room. I'm calling it my personal meditation room, obviously, where we can take I schedule to take small groups of students in there. It's a device-free room just for relaxing and getting used to a little bit of meditation. In my American school in China, the seniors joked that I was on commission from the website, calm.com, that meditation app. But I'm really a believer, and calm.com is free to all educators now. Maybe some of you know that. Yeah.
I use two apps. One is Headspace, and so that's a free meditation app too. And you can get the basic version of it. And if you want to just do a body scan for 1 minute, you can do that, or a gratefulness exercise, you can do that. So that even when you are caught in the busyness of the day, you'll have time to pause and calm yourself down. All right?
Sorry, we seem to get bumped out there from our slide presentation.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, and if you're ever in town and you'd like to come see our school and visit the wellness room or the different facilities, write to us and we'd be happy to host you, right? We are super proud of our school, and we'll be more than happy to host you, and yes.
Okay, moving on to the rest of October, you see I have academic plan of action meetings, which can have different terms in different high schools. Academic plan of action is the parent-teacher conferences are over. We have a very good idea as to how students are coping in their individual classes. So if someone is not doing well academically, we're going to have a meeting with them and get a little bit of a success plan going. See if there's anyone else on our team we need to bring in to talk about future success for that student. Because our first set of published grades, of course, comes up at the end of semester 1 in January. So this still gives us time to support students to get on track and see what kind of help they need. So I call them APAs, but the academic plan of action meetings are more towards the end of October. How many people are doing the PSAT? Anybody do that? Okay, we do that for 9, 10, 11 at this school. Ongoing support for grade 12, because we're moving into November of the IB grade 12 year. And with grade 11, we're starting to have initial conversations about the application process. And then we have our parent book club and our principal hosts parent coffees. The book club meetings In the past, I was using actual books, full books with parents to have discussions and use protocols and bring them into the community with their concerns. Yeah. And in China, I actually moved to having a book club based on articles from different journals or topical magazines, publications about our number one feedback from parents is how to talk to our kids and how to help them manage their stress. And so if we email an article to parents or post it, they can pull it off and take some time to look at that 3 or 4 page article instead of thinking, oh my goodness, English isn't my first language. I'm intimidated to go in and get into a whole book discussion. But it is also a great way to bring our parents into the parent coffees and to hear how they're feeling.
Yeah, plus it's also a very supportive group as such, and it's sometimes calming for families also, that other people are also going through similar issues and raising their children. Or if there are concerns, then as a group, we have a chance to voice it.
Okay, moving into November, intensive work with seniors as they're rounding up those applications. I find that November is the highest stress month for seniors. We really have to give them a lot of love and care. We depend on our faculty to just make referrals through conversations, through an email. I think this student is down. I think this student is struggling. I think this student hasn't slept for days. And we really want to get in there again under them and really give them support. November is a heavy, heavy month. Continuing with junior wellness, our school has a Week Without Walls trip where all high school students travel to.
We call it the Yatra. So it's a way for, in ASP, this is one of the fantastic ways in which the school interacts and engages with the country, the host country, and the community. So for us as counselors, like for example, last year I did a I did a activity yatra. So I went rock climbing. I had never gone rock climbing before, right? And so I traveled with a group of 20 students, and we had people supporting teams and experts who helped us. So it's a good way for us to know the students one-on-one, and for the students to know us one-on-one. And not only that, just time for us to bond together as a community. So you have students across grade levels in a yatra. So students travel to anywhere from the Himalayas, they go yachting, for example, there's cultural and performance arts one in Kerala, and this year I'm doing a kayaking one in Rameshwaram. So or there's a service one up in Dharamshala. So all within the country. So it depends on, it gives students and communities a way to bond. Yep.
Some students are also starting to look at summer programs, and we're talking with them about that. You probably are aware that lots of summer programs in the U.S., for example, have deadlines as early as January, right? Yeah. So we're asking them to look at that. Please don't surprise our faculty by demanding recommendation letters for the deadline of the next day. That's not going to work for us. So we're asking folks to be thoughtful about those programs. Here we are in December. There you go. December 1's the all applications deadline.
December 6th, sorry. Typo.
Sorry, December 6th this year?
Uh-huh.
Sorry, December 6th. I just give them 5 more days.
Yeah.
A few more academic concern meetings. Counselor sessions, again, with stress management as we manage the upcoming set of exams, particularly our 9th graders who may be a little intimidated with that first set of exams. Uh-huh. CAS, Creativity, Action, and Service, part of the IB program. Those requirements are coming up on kids. And then the college counselor is busy submitting all of those documents, as you know.
Before we head off for winter vacation.
December's pretty
busy. Yeah.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about, we're going to just do a quick self-care exercise. And I'm going to ask you to get up and participate with others here this morning, and then we'll get back to the rest of the year. This is just a quick little protocol I did with the seniors to help them to reflect on self-care. And we also involved faculty members so they could talk openly and honestly about how they are doing with self-care. And for students to see a group of grown-ups, when you ask the question, when have you been away from your device, not sleeping, for more than 2 hours in the last week? It's really good for students to see that adults find self-care challenging as well. Annie's passing out a little find someone. Yes, please take one and pass it along. I know. We only have 15 minutes, though. Actually, maybe we won't get on our feet with 15 minutes to go, but I'll explain to you how this works. So please take one. Yeah, there it is. So what you're going to do is you hand this out and you get your students and faculty to walk around and find someone who can answer this description, and only one person per box. This really elicits a lot of great discussions between faculty and students and students and students, and helps us to really talk about self-care. So that's something we did. We talked about college fairs with seniors this week in advisory, and then we did this exercise. So because of our lack of time, we're going to move on, but I hope you'll get a copy of that. Anybody need a photo of that? We can share that. Yeah.
And this is a fantastic way for you to get students to talk to each other. So if you're doing like a beginning of the year session where you have new kids coming in, or if you're hosting a small get-together for students, you can change the items on the grid so that you can put in interesting things that are specific to that activity and get people talking. Yeah.
Okay, in the interest of time, I understand we have 15 minutes. We better get moving. We break up for 3 weeks for the Christmas holiday or the winter holiday. And we come back in January and hit the ground running. And here we go. The mid-year reports are uploaded by the college counselor for the seniors. We continue with advisory. Senior seminar begins. Annie, you want to talk about senior seminar?
So senior seminar is a set of wellness classes that are run during advisory for grade 12 students. And this covers topics from, for example, how to plan for college. Do they know the cost of living? So we get them to look up, because many of them have started getting their offers. So we get them to research and get them in the mind space where they're starting to think about transitioning to college or university. So everything from, we do a session on cooking, we do one on first aid run by the school nurse, and and this, in a way, is run in smaller groups. So in the advisories, it's run. So students have a better sense of, for example,
independent
skills, yeah.
For life after ASB. If we have Korean students, which we do. We can share some of the sessions that we do if you're interested. But in broad strokes, the senior seminar is structured as a series of around 6 different sessions, so one every week or so. And in each session, we cover different aspects that we think would help students become more independent when they Maybe
go
we
to
could
university.
share that.
Yeah.
Later.
Right?
I think we're in the interest of time. Just anybody doing Korean apps to Korean universities? Okay, so we don't need to talk about that. That's your 12-year out time. In February, we really start with our grade 10 students, as they're going to move into, if they're not doing the full diploma, they're certainly very, very likely going to do a load of IB courses. So kickoff to college for the grade 11 parents and students.
So we talk to them about the year ahead, and so they think they have 1.5 years before they graduate. So we start with a timeline, a very detailed timeline, and we work very closely with the IB-DP coordinator to make sure the timelines don't put undue stress on the children, right?
Yeah. The course selection process begins, and students will receive forms that they will have signed by their teachers. We'll have an agreed set of courses for that student. The principal and the counselors review that course selection for inputting into our system, so that by the time we get to May is our goal. Everyone in the school has, we hope, a complete schedule, and we keep those paper forms that parents and students sign and agree to. And so that begins in as early as February. In March, what we would call junior interviews in the American system begin. Hello?
So these are one-on-one meetings for year 11 students and so we ask them to fill in a counselor survey, a questionnaire, where we ask them about which countries they're applying to or what are their post-secondary plans. So they have an idea of, we have an idea of how we can best support them. And we come up with a tentative plan, and we continue working with them in the coming months to help tweak the plan, all right?
So you can see we have individual meetings with families as needed. That happens pretty much all year. There can be any number of reasons that the counseling secretary might put meetings in our calendar to talk with parents or families. The college counselor is very busy with the junior interviews. We have an introduction to the college essay for grade 11 students, actually a specialty of my husband's. He loves to help kids with their college essays. And in my previous context, we always did a mock admissions workshop. Anybody done that with parents or students?
Yes.
So a mock admissions workshop, I believe college reps do that here, where you run through actual files and criteria, and you ask your parents to play the role of a college admissions officer and decide who would be admit, deny, or waitlisted. So we do those at some point through the year with parents and students.
We time it in March because a lot of colleges travel for their spring yield visits, and it's an easier time to schedule it at that time rather than when you're going crazy in August to November with so many colleges coming in. That's the reason why we have it there.
We seem to start a new round in the spring, as you may know, of college visits. More folks coming in. With grade 12 parents and students, we talk about letting go, moving on to college, lots of independent skills and practical tips for that, as well as social emotional support for that move and that transition for both parents and students. Once a year, counselors would give a board report, generally in an American school, in terms of the picture of our admissions and things like that, right, Annie?
And we have a college t-shirt day. So the entire high school community or the students, the grade 12 students wear a t-shirt of the college that they have received an offer from, their top choice. Right? So everybody in the school knows that that's the school that they're going to, or that's their top choice. And we also have other people in school, like the teachers, the counselors. We also come for college t-shirt day in our favorite. We could have gone to that school, or we like that school. So sometimes my IB coordinator, she wears t-shirts from Princeton because her child went there. So some connection. Right? And it's a very nice way for the community, for you to encourage a college-going culture in your community.
Okay, moving on to May. If you're an IB school, you know the magic May 1 date of the final exams, IB exams for seniors. We start to have rising senior meetings with the juniors to talk about what will your summer timeline look like. How can you come back in August leading a bit of a low-stress life? What can you be doing over the summer and through the next months to plan for coming into senior year? Well, there's obviously graduation prom and senior recognitions, and then a grade 11 meeting with parents and students regarding IB predicted grades, the college list, just generally helping our junior families move into that senior year. Anything else?
May is when we get our first set of internal predictors. So teachers look at a student's performance all through grade 11. So it's not based on just the final exam. So their performance, and we always place it in the context of, remember, this is the midpoint of a 2-year program. So if you're happy with your predicted grades, then good, continue working. If you're unhappy, you still have a year's time to better it. So that's the context, yeah.
June. When do we close school this year? Around the 7th? June 7th would be our final day of school in the academic year for the American School of Bombay. So you're looking at final reports being issued, transfer documents. Any American or international school by nature would have lots of transient students coming in or leaving us. So a lot of documentation and goodbyes there. School closes on June. I wasn't sure of the date, so I just heard from Fiona that it's the 7th. And generally, there's a lot of wrap-up. I think that talking with juniors a lot, or grade 11s during that time, is also significant. Giving social emotional support to students who may find, as you know, school as the safest space that they have in their lives in terms of their plans for summer, and what they'll be doing is also important. So that is June, and then you pack your bags, get on the airplane. If you have Korean applications, there's still lots of those to prepare to be mailed from our office because, of course, those would contain confidential recommendation letters. And like any school of our character, no recommendation letters are ever given to families or students. Yeah. They're only sent from our office to their office. And then, of course, Magic July 5 or 6, IB scores, final IB scores are released. In those days, counselors may be helping students with appeals if they've fallen a point short maybe for their college or university applications. So we're on vacation, but we're still around in many ways. I'm going to move on now so we can have a little time for questions. So here are some key sets of documents
that we would be sharing. So if you're interested, just write to us. We'll display our contact details. Okay.
So there are many presentations and key documents that we might use throughout that academic year. And if you're interested, we're happy to share some or share them. If you're interested in having tips, sometimes we do presentations and people want to do a mock admissions workshop or they want to do a kickoff to college with parents, and we are very happy to share what we do and the presentations that we might use. And I think we have a few websites there that you probably know them already, where you might find some free resources and support.
And remember, the people around you are your best allies. So today, when you meet with also college representatives, don't feel shy about saying that you are a beginner counselor, right? We all started out at some point as a beginner counselor. When I started out like 9 years ago, I had a fantastic education. I had a double master's, but this was the first time that I was helping support students into a very different system. So don't feel shy. If you don't know, Google it, right? If you don't know further, be a part of a group that's supportive and learning. Yeah, it's a learning community. Yep.
And I guess my final word would be, of course, the social emotional care of all of our students. 10 or 12 years ago, I moved from being an elementary counselor to high school, and the head of school at that time came to visit me when I agreed to stay on and move to high school, and he said, I only have one request for you as you move from elementary to high school. And he said, when I walk around elementary, I see so much love between the grown-ups and the little people in their care. Could you take some of that elementary love for those students up to the high school? And it's very easy for us to forget that these kids, because they look so big, don't have a lot of emotional needs that are still invested in childhood as they're moving towards adulthood. And so I think that would be my final plug for the social emotional life of your students. Very, very significant. So thanks for coming today. Any questions for us? We have a few minutes for questions.
The next slide has our email. The next one has it.
There you go.
And remember, when you are supporting everybody else, you are in a phase of giving to other people. You can only give from a full cup, right? So like just how they say in an airplane, put on your oxygen mask first. Make sure you look after yourself. Make sure you practice the self-care routines, and so that you can model it for the students and your community. All right?
And I know we have some administrators in the room. We thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Understanding what a year in a college counseling office looks like. And I think counselors are nobody without the support of their administrators. Yeah. So it really is a team approach. And so we thank you for coming today and sharing in our learning.
Thank you.